All right.
Oh,
Uh, Welcome everyone to another interview on Growing Up Alien. And today we have an old friend with us, Lorraine McAdam, and her book I'm going to show
hi.
you. Thanks, Lorraine is Phantoms in the Night. So we're going to talk about this today, and I'll put information on the book and where you can find it in the descriptions. But I want to first just welcome Lorraine back.
Hi. Hi, everyone.
That's great to have you here. We interviewed you before on Linda's channel Potentials, but now we're able to bring you here on my channel, Growing Up Alien, and you
Thank you.
describe what it was like for you to literally grow up with aliens. So
Um,
I have some questions for you, but I'm going to just
yes,
leave it with
yeah.
you, and you can explain, from early childhood. What your initial experience is very similar to mine. So what happened to you when
Yes,
you
yeah.
were growing up?
Um, well, my first, I suppose, I wasn't even conscious of this either. This is a weird thing. My first earliest memory of something strange, when I look back on it now, was that, and I told Linda Moulton Howe about this as well, but it was almost as if they had control at the time because I wasn't terrified. I didn't run out of the room screaming to my father or mother and saying, "Mum, there's a projection of two men on my ceiling." I mean, you'd think that would have scared me half to death, wouldn't you? But the funny thing was, I felt perfectly safe, and these two would project onto my ceiling, and they looked as if they were in space. It looked like there was space behind them there were these like floor to ceiling windows behind them, and they looked like they were sat at some sort of console, and they were both in identical sort of navy blue, black turtle top uniforms. One was blonde, really good looking. I suspect now that that was Dteeah, who
Yeah,
we're
your
going to talk about.
Contactee. Yeah,
Yeah,
we're gonna pull up
yeah,
some photos in
yeah,
a bit, but I want to
yeah.
just let you kind of introduce
But
yourself.
obviously, at age 8, as a kid, I didn't realise who that was. And a colleague, I'm presuming the other guy was a colleague of some associate of his. But
What
they
did
would talk to
the
me.
other man look like?
Very handsome. And well, they both were very good looking. But as a kid, you don't think about that. That doesn't strike you till you sort of reach puberty, does it really? So that never struck me, or until I was older, really. But we would have conversations, and I can't remember what we talked about at all. This is a strange thing. And the other strange thing, of course, is that I didn't run screaming to my parents to say, "There's these two strange men keep appearing on my ceiling talking to me." And I was only 8 at the time. This is the 70s. And one night, my dad caught me talking to these two. And as soon as my dad popped his head round the door, it blinked out. The screen just, as
Yeah.
if they knew that my father should not see this. And my dad said, "Who are you talking to?" And I just made a lie up and said, "I'm talking to myself." And my dad just made a joke of it, and said, "They'll take you away, if you keep talking to yourself." This is what we say in England. It's a common saying, that they'll come and get you and take you to the funny farm if you keep talking. And I just, and another thing that happened shortly after that, that kind of stopped happening. And then there was a cigar-shaped craft seen, and it was all over the news at the time in the 70s by some kids in Wales. I don't know whether you've heard about this. It's a well-known UFO situation here in the United Kingdom, and it was recently talked about on a BBC programme about UFOs. But around that time, I had a very vivid dream of going into the field behind my house, as if this was actually happening to me. And I was greeted by this lovely looking, I think the same man as I'd seen on the ceiling, but he had longer hair. So I'd be about 9 by this time. And he had longer hair, but he came up to me and hugged me as if I was really somebody really special to him, as if almost like we were long lost friends.
Mhm.
And when I woke up from that, I remember crying buckets and thinking, like, I had this real feeling of loss,
Yeah.
like I wanted to go back like this beautiful person, and I couldn't. And I felt this like searing loss. It was just so weird to me as a kid, like almost like I'd lost a parent or something. It was
That's
horrible.
that's actually similar to what Howard Menger experienced. he was younger than that. I think he was, I'm not quite sure how old he was, but he was walking in the woods and he met a very beautiful woman in an unusual.
Oh yes, I've read it. Yes, I remember
And he
reading
said, will you
it.
come back? And of course he felt that amazing love from her.
Yes,
And
yes, yes, I remember
uh,
reading it and thinking, oh
and
my God, that's just
yeah,
exactly how I
and
felt.
it's cookie
Yeah,
cutter, even Sammy Hagar. I mean, everybody had that same when it's the family, the juxtaposition between the intense depth of the love emanating from these uh people versus what we experience here is is a
it's awful. There's nothing to match it here.
thing.
It's a pale comparison, is all I can say. Um, I've never experienced love like that here. Yeah, because
Yeah.
it's an unconditional love. It's
Oh,
spiritually higher. I don't know how to.
I don't
I
think
haven't got the words unusually, but
yeah, I don't think you can explain it to people who haven't experienced it. I just
no, I think people that have would understand.
they would
Um,
understand, yeah.
yeah, but
Yeah.
so, um, but obviously at that time I didn't know what was going on. I didn't understand it, what was going on. I just knew that. In fact, at times I dismissed it and thought I've just got a really vivid imagination or something.
Right.
And that was really until I got into my teenage years. And it's all in my book, this.
Mm.
But then, unfortunately, I seemed to be singled out by what we commonly know as the grey aliens. Some people call them the Zeta Reticulans. And I think they started to take me. And I found that very frightening indeed. I would hear this awful buzzing noise like bees droning, and it would move through me and go through me. And then I would just black out, and it would be, say, midnight or really dark. And I used to hate my mum turning all the lights off, but she insisted that we did because she didn't have a lot of money, and um, and she would insist on all the lights going off. She wouldn't even let me have a nightlight or anything. And I don't think she understood at all, although it's not surprising in a way. Who would expect her to, really? And I would just black out, and then I would come to, and it would be daytime almost instantly, and there would be this huge gap of time, and I'd think, what the hell just happened to me? And that happened a lot, probably twice a week throughout, from me being about 13 right up to me being about 18. And then suddenly it stopped.
When did
Yeah.
how old were you when they first came, the Grays?
Well, I'm saying 13. I was about 12 because the first time they came, my mum and dad had just broken up, and I was at my dad's house. So I remember it vividly. And they started by whispering things to me, and saying things in my ear. And I thought at first, am I hearing things? Yeah, am I going mad here? Yeah, am I going mental? Am I just hearing voices or something? And then there was this awful buzzing, of course, and I got taken from right next to my own father, who just slept on oblivious. I
Oh,
saw him, yeah, and I was trying to, and I couldn't even open my mouth to scream or shout. They'd paralyze you to the point where you couldn't scream or shout. You would just scream inside your head, if that makes sense, because they just completely paralyzed me. Yeah,
right.
it was horrible. It was horrible. And one night, when I was taken from my mum's house, because I lived mostly with my mum,
Mm.
after they broke up, I saw these like long white fingered hands. I looked down, I woke up, and I caught them, and they were around my body. And my instinctive reaction was to dig my nails into these hands to try and defend myself. But imagine that. I mean, it was so frightening for a kid,
I can,
which I essentially just was. So I just pressed my nails into their hands as if to say, get off me, leave me alone. And I said, go away, leave me alone. In my head, why do you keep doing this? And I prayed because I've been brought up as a Catholic Christian. And at that time, that was my mindset, that these must be demons or something persecuting me. That was my kind of mindset. So I would pray to Jesus to deliver me from them. And of course, that didn't work. Well, I'm saying it didn't work. It did sometimes, but most times it didn't. And what they used to say to me, and what they've said since, later on in life is your God can't help you now. That's what they used to say, and I think that's really quite nasty, really.
Yeah.
Um,
What was the occasion when you had the marks on your nightgown? They left.
oh, that was when I was, I'd be about 15,
Oh,
and it
you're
had been going on. And I was trying to tell my mum that it was happening, but she just said, I'm going to take you to a psychiatrist. That was the extent of her sympathy. You know, if you carry on making stories up, like she thought I was just making stories up.
Yeah, yeah.
And I don't know. They took me one night, and it was almost like they wanted to torment me because they paralysed me one night, but they didn't black me. I didn't black out, and I thought, oh, I'm going to black out in a minute, and I didn't black out. And I could feel this sharp thing in my back. And I had it was winter time. I had a long winter night dress on, and they would seemed to be drawing on my back. And I thought, what on earth are they doing? And then they let me out of it. And then when I looked at my night dress, it had this, like, I can only describe it as like black charcoal. It
Yeah.
looked like it might have actually been black charcoal. I don't know what they used. And they put symbols on my back, and I later, because I remembered this, one of them was the Egyptian Ankh. And I thought, what on earth are they trying to tell me here? What are they trying to tell me? You know, are they trying to tell me I've had a life in Egypt, ancient Egypt, and met them before? Which I look back now in retrospect and wonder that. But I really don't know. At the time, it was very frightening to a child.
That's actually quite unique. I don't know of any other. It'd be interesting to do some research. And probably
Yeah,
Michael Salla might be able to figure that out. If anyone's ever had marks on their clothing or walls or whatever, right? Actual physical marks of strange symbolic writing. That would be, you're actually the first person I know of who have had these marks put on. So that would
yeah,
be a different, interesting thing to, go on. Now, you know, the fellow who wrote Communion, did he ever mention in his book of writing on his
uh,
body?
uh, I think he mentioned symbols, but not actual writing. But he was showing symbols in his mind. So,
Oh, and that's
yeah, and that's not the first time that's happened to me with doing abduction. Um, but it was being shown symbols, not written on me. That was the only time they were kind of left some evidence, so to speak. But because I was so terrified, and didn't know what the hell was happening, and thought it was demons, I washed the thing really quickly.
right.
So of course, and I never thought, because people say, well, why didn't you photograph it? But then I just wanted to get rid of it because it was so scary. I just wanted to put it away. I didn't even want to wear that night dress actually anymore. Although my mum said we can't afford to keep buying new night dresses, and told me off about it and accused me of doing it actually.
Yeah, right.
So,
I
and
think
which I
I think
felt,
that's common, for a child to
yeah,
hide this
yeah,
because no one's going to believe you, and especially if it's
yeah,
you just got some damage on your clothes, you're going to get yelled at. You're having
I
these,
did.
you're
Yeah,
terrified.
yeah,
The fact that
yeah.
any child would actually think to fight. I mean, we're not that far apart in age to, getting access to a camera was, you'd have to have the film developed. It's like it would never
Yeah.
occur to you. You just wanted to put this stuff, hide it, put it under the rug. You don't tell anybody.
You didn't have anything like a digital camera back then.
No, no.
Like you said, you'd have to take it to the photographers, wait 3 weeks, go and collect them. I don't know what it was like in America. It was about 3 weeks here.
Wow.
I suspect it might have been quicker where you are, but I just didn't want to face
No,
that.
no. You just wanted this
I
stuff
mean,
to
it was
stop.
just horrible. But I didn't know what was going on for a long time. And it really wasn't until, I mean, as time went on, it became lesser and lesser common. It stopped. For some reason, it was more or less quite a lot during my teens. And then I got to 18 and I went to pre-nursing college because nursing was my first career. And back then, years ago, you'd go to pre-nursing college and then you would get your pre-nursing certificate, and then you would go to what we called nursing school in a hospital, and you would train on the wards. You didn't do a degree then. You do now if you want to be a nurse in England, but back then you did sort of 12 weeks in nursing school, 12 weeks on the wards, which I thought actually was eminently more practical because you were hands-on as well as theory, and then you'd apply your theory when you went on the wards. That was the idea of it. And it was during that time that I had a few experiences, but Not very many. One was when I was going to college. I call this girl the girl at the bus stop
Yeah.
um, in my book. And I was stood at the bus stop, and usually when I went to college, there were loads of other teenagers who were going to various college courses with me from that estate, because it was a huge estate I lived on. And it was kind of practically, well, very, very unusual, shall I say, that there'll be no other kids there. But this particular day, both two instances, there was no one else there but me and this beautiful blonde girl. And she was staring at me, and I was staring at her. And I just got this. Of course, I didn't know back then about Nordic ETs or anything like that. I had no clue. And I looked at her, and I just felt this connection. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? I mean, who are you? I'm thinking, who are you? You are not. And something intuitively, deep down inside of me said, she's not from here. She doesn't belong here. Something didn't sit right. I didn't feel threatened by her. I felt very at peace next to her. She was giving out a good aura, but I didn't feel that. I felt almost like she was out of time or something. And the bus came and she didn't even get on, which was weird again. I thought, why are you not getting on the bus when you stood at the bus stop? And I did a picture of her, a mock-up that I can provide if you like. But unfortunately, the drawings in my book are a bit out of date now, because I have since consulted with an AI artist, Leif Martins, who's produced these wonderful pictures for me. And there is one of her if people would like to see that at a later date, perhaps when I come
So
back.
you have a new print of your book, because those are not here in my copy.
No, no, I don't, unfortunately, and I
They're
don't know
not,
how I would get that.
you'd have to send me then. Yeah.
Yeah, I will send you that. Yes,
Yeah, actually,
but she was really beautiful.
I can read a piece from your book. This is when you were, actually, there's a section I wanted to go back, in your
No,
book,
that's okay.
child. Yeah. Um, so you said here, this is, on page 8 of your text, and it says, quite often when I was a child, and I want to emphasize that this was a perfectly normal thing for me to do, and this is your story, I would concentrate on my blank bedroom ceiling, and suddenly it would begin to ripple, and the two men
That's
would
right.
appear to me. And this is the story you brought up earlier. Now these two were sitting behind what I would now describe as consoles, and wore identical navy blue tops that had black turtlenecks. In the background, there were large windows behind them, and through these windows, I could see tiny stars. So it would appear that these two were in space somewhere. Strangely, I didn't find this odd at all. And this is, one of your earlier experiences. And then you have the one. This is the. I don't think this is a drawing, but this is the story you just mentioned. You actually had physical contact. When did you have physical contact with Dteeah as a teenager? Was that before your nursing career?
Yes, I'd be about 10. I said I had this vivid, well, what felt like a vivid dream of being in the fields behind my house, and my mum and dad were still married then, but in the process of getting divorced. And I wonder if that's why he came, because I was going through hell at the time because of that. And I believe that was,
Him.
we'll talk about Dteeah, how I got to know it was
Yeah,
Dteeah
yeah.
after.
Did you not meet him again as a teenager? So I have a second here says, so this is on
Yes,
page,
yes, I did. Yes. But he came in disguise, I believe, when I look back on it. These two strange Mormon first visited me. And then we talked about Jesus and things like that. And I said, come back. And they said, can we come back? And I got this really strange feeling off the blonde one, almost like he was undercover or something. I'm thinking, you're not who you say you are. I just had this really keen
yeah,
intuition that I think is what we come in with. Am I right? I think we come in with that.
right.
That connection. There was like an instant connection. And I thought, where do I know you from?
Right.
When you think, where do I know your face from? And then the second time when he came back, he was on his own. This is the weird thing, and they never work alone. They're not meant to do that. And all I can remember is that he sat right next to me on the couch.
Yeah.
We weren't holding hands or anything, but he sat right next to me, and I was looking right at him. But I can't remember for the life of me how the conversation went, which suggests to me that he was in control, and that I was something was wiped out of my memory. but I was left with the impression of his face.
Right.
And I think there was a reason for that, was because I met him again 10 years later when by that time I was qualified staff nurse. And it was exactly this, it was him again.
This is
And
on.
again, I was going through terrible trauma in my life. But,
This is on
uh,
26, where you remember this is tall, blonde, Aryan-looking man with perfect skin and features. So that there's
yes,
keys that I always look for when people when I consult or people consult with me on whether or not they've met someone who is a visitor. And there's some key aspects I'll always ask them, and so it's like because I feigned in. So these are the Mormons. You said they come and they knocked on your door. You said his sweatshirt was navy blue, and so were his trousers. He came back to my house alone, a thing that is never done, and as far as I have been able to ascertain via queries to the Mormon Church. So
right,
yeah,
yeah.
because I feigned an interest in their work, telling them that any Christians were welcome to call. The blonde man returned a second time alone. See, so he sat next to you in your on your tiny sofa, the one allotted to commoners, not the posh lettuce green one.
Well,
Study
that was just a bit of a din joke with my mum, because she she
covered
had
up, right?
the best
So,
room and the
yeah, you said you're studying me
room where we.
intently, while I in return was attempting to flirt with him, which he failed to respond to in any way at all. In essence, he
Which
had
is
been very much in control of his emotions and refused any offers of drinks, including orange juice. And the strange thing is
yes,
that
it
I
did.
can't remember what we talked about, and that's what you were saying. And this is yeah, so this was a physical contact you had, again, most
Oh,
likely.
absolutely. Yeah, I mean, he was right. He was within inches of me. But of course, I didn't realize who he was. I just
Yeah,
felt this strong connection. That's all. The only way I can describe it. Oh, and a real high spiritual vibration from him. Even at that time, I even wondered if he'd been an angel in disguise. Now that tells you how spiritual I felt his presence was
oh yeah.
afterwards. Yeah.
So you do,
Um,
this is the one, and then there's the woman you said that this is the one, they're likely phasing in the lady at the bus stop. She too had a perfect flawless complexion and long pale blonde hair. She had quite a pointed chin and larger than normal pale blue eyes. She wore a plain navy blue jumper, close tight-fitting leggings, and seamless black boots. And you
yeah,
said,
every time.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right.
Not dressed in fashion
One
of the
thing
times.
I think this was some kind of a time or phase slip, because you said here that you noticed, because it's a busy place where you were living there at the estate, that that morning she was the only other person at the bus stop when there would have been more. You said at least a dozen people or so, right? Yeah.
Yeah, usually. I mean, it was just weird, period, Almost like I've been put in some kind of pocket universe, I
Yeah,
think, maybe. I don't.
so a lot of what occurred in your book were time phases.
What do you mean by that? Sorry.
They
Were you?
phase in almost a holographic reality.
Ah,
It
right.
was
Now
like a
that doesn't.
time slip.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
that's what
yeah,
you experienced many times, actually. And when you went
yeah.
to that job interview, and you can talk about that in a bit too, is it was very peculiar, this job interview that you went to was
It was. Yeah, it was. But that happened before I saw who I now know to be Dteeah again. But that happened just after. If I go forward, oh no, wait a minute. Yes, it did. Sorry, I just get things confused. Timeline in my mind. I just got to get the timeline right. No, what happened was I left nursing for a while and went to do my bachelor's degree in English because I had an opportunity to do it, and I'd thought about branching over into teaching, which I did eventually because I am a teacher now. I'm still a teacher today. I love teaching. So I'm an English teacher today. So I just got my bachelor's degree, but I didn't know at that point that I really wanted to be a teacher. So I was looking for jobs like PAs and things like that, and just general stuff, just to keep me going till I got. Another reason for that was that I was thinking of divorcing who was my then husband, because he was being violent towards me. So I was in a bit of a bad place really at that point. So I went to this interview in Manchester, and I got on the train to Manchester Victoria. And it went weird from then on in, because I really don't remember how I got there for a start, which is weird in and of itself. And then I went to these offices, and everyone I've told about this agrees that it's totally weird. Um, And I went up these plain stone steps. I remember going up these steps to get to the offices. And I don't even remember how I got there. That's the weird thing. But then when I went into the room, I mean, I'm only sort of quite young at this point, so you would remember surely. You know, I had a sharp mind. I still have a sharp mind, yeah, but an even sharper mind back then. And the walls were plain yellow. They were just kind of plain plastic chairs in a sort of orangey colour. I have had my friend reproduce this, a picture of the girl that greeted me. And this blonde girl with sort of bobbed shoulder length blonde hair greeted me. And she looked a bit flummoxed in and of herself, almost like I scared her a bit right from the off, right from the minute I arrived. But the striking thing was there was no phones at a time when we only had phones and manual typewriters on office desks, and you would have a lot of paperwork up and about in an office and filing cabinets and things like that. None of that was present. And I thought, this is really, really weird. Just a plain wooden brown desk that she sat behind. And I said, after a while, she said, could you just wait? And after a while, I needed to go to the loo. And this is what threw her completely. And I said, I need to go to the toilet. And she said, oh, I'm sorry, we don't have a toilet. And she looked really, really flummoxed, like that had just thrown her completely. And I thought, what? You don't have a toilet for people that are coming for interviews? That is just totally weird. I said, well, can I go to the staff toilet? Surely you've got a staff. Oh, no, no, no. And she looked really panicked. So I sat back down and I thought, oh, well, fair enough. And I thought, what have I come to here? And then I'm seeing through this side door as well at the same time, identical, what appeared to me anyway, to be identical blue cars zooming past, down below, because she'd left the door open because it was summer and it was boiling like it is today. And I could see these blue cars with identical blonde men in them that looked like, almost like, not clones, but like twins. And I'm looking at them, they're all wearing exactly the same blue. I'm thinking, what the hell is going on here? Why are all these cars whizzing past down below with all these blonde men in them? And then I get called into eventually to the interview. And the weird thing is that the guy that's interviewing me looks perfectly like a normal human from Earth, and he looks of African extraction. And he's not much hair, very tall, big man, probably about 6'5".
Wow.
I don't feel he's threatening, but I feel he has an agenda. And I sit down and I say, I've come about the sales job. But all he wants to do, because at the time I discovered that I was what people call psychometric, that I can read objects. And that is when people give you an object that they wear a lot, like a piece of jewellery or a watch or a ring, that you can get the past and future impressions of that person's life from it. And I'd had an article just prior to this interview. Interestingly, there'd been an article in the Lancashire Evening Telegraph about me reading watches and things. And then the journalist had said that I predicted that he would attend the Lancashire bike race the following day, because what I actually said to him was, I can see lots of bikes whizzing past you, because he asked me, he said, where am I going to go and report on next? And I said, you're going to go and report on a bike race, because I can see bikes racing past you. And he never knew what assignment he was going to get. And he said, the next day you got the Lancashire bike race, you got assigned to the Lancashire bike race. So that had been in the paper, and I'd been on Lancashire radio, and then I got this strange interview. So I wonder if it was some kind of military working with them or the government.
I was gonna say that that wasn't your family, that was the military.
I don't know for certain. And considering all the background that I'd already had, with the Greys,
Yeah,
I
yeah.
wonder if there was some kind of, I don't know, assessing me for abilities that I'd developed as a result of contact. Or
They work with extraterrestrials, and they have full technology, so they created almost a holographic experience for you to go to this interview, because they weren't interested. You weren't going to a sales job.
no, I know I wasn't. I realise that now when I look back on it, but at the time they well and truly had me there. But the strange thing was that even by that point in my life, I vaguely connected it somehow with UFOs, but not definitely, because whilst I was living at that house with my husband where I went to that interview from, that was in Darwin, Lancashire, in the UK, I'd had a sighting of a UFO, and this is all in my book, and I'd had a sighting there with my ex-husband from years ago, of a red UFO, and it stopped in the sky. Nothing we had at that time could do that. And my husband said, "Oh, it's a plane, it's a plane." And I said, "No," I said, "a plane cannot stop
Right.
in midair and hover and then shoot off like that." But he wouldn't have it.
Oh,
The people, it's almost like they have this cognitive disconnect even when they see things. They just cognitive disconnect, a lot of people. And I said, "No, that's a UFO," because that's what we call them. I
right,
think
right.
it's
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
so all this connects up. All this happened. I saw the craft, then I got the article in the paper. I'd just graduated, I was having trauma with him, and I got this interview. So I don't know what the hell was going on, really. I can only think that maybe if I am a Nordic starseed, the Pleiadian starseed, as I believe I probably am now, as I've done more and more research and put more and more of join more and more of the dots, I really think that I'm probably a Pleiadian starseed
Yeah.
that agreed to come to Earth at this time.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? I feel
Absolutely,
a
yeah.
bit mad saying
Yeah,
that, but
absolutely. Well, and that's the way I met you initially was through your book on a UFO site, and I ended up contacting you, and I said, hey, I'm married to an hell man. I'm a walk-in. I'm from Era, and I think your contact is an Era hell as well, and that's how we ended up having a conversation. And I spoke to your contact Dteeah during our first
yes,
our first.
yeah, because he just told me his name very recently. That was after he first made definite contact with me in 2020. But before I go to that, can I talk about the contact I had with him when I was a staff nurse on
Absolutely.
nights in the 90s? Because
Yeah.
that's quite significant. Because what happened was, by that time, I'd left my first husband because he was abusive. And I was in a very dark place, really. I was living with my mum, but we weren't getting on very well, and we'd had a big row this particular night, and I was on night duty. I used to do 40 hours a week as a senior staff nurse, so I was in charge of about 8 staff, and anything that went wrong, the book stopped with me. I was virtually like in charge of the whole. It was a private hospital, and I was walking to work that night, and I felt really, really down because I was going through this awful divorce at the same time. And I didn't drive then, so I caught the bus to work, and I'd met a colleague on the bus who was very funny, and he kind of was making me laugh and things. He was a very witty guy, but he was one of the nursing assistants, and we often met each other on the bus. So he witnessed this. So he was with me. He was called Peter, by the way. If he might watch at some point, I'm hoping it would be lovely if we could meet up if he ever watches this. But that night we met these two Mormon, what appeared to be the same two Mormon that had come to me 10 years prior, when I was a teenager still. And it was the two same blokes, I swear, and they hadn't aged one day. They looked exactly the same. And that is what struck me immediately. And I looked at the blonde one and I thought, I know you. What are you playing at? Because I've met you before. But I never said anything because I was so flummoxed by it. I was so, can I use a British expression, gobsmacked? I was so gobsmacked. And my friend actually accused me at the time. He said, "You were really staring at that blonde guy. You fancied him, didn't you?" And I thought, well, I won't deny it. Yes, he was very handsome, but he did not understand what was going through my head. Because what was going through my head was, I know you, I've met you before, and you haven't aged one iota. How have you managed that? Because of course we age. And then at that same night, significantly at work, and I talk about this in my book, I went to answer a call on the top of the hospital. There were 3 floors, and I went to answer the call. And normally the buzzers wouldn't go off on that floor because they were senile dementia patients, so they wouldn't think I need to press the buzzer for the nurse. You just went and did routine checks. So I went thinking, what the hell? There's a malfunction with the button, was what was going through my head. And I got there, and when I came around the corner of the corridor, because you had to come around like a bend from the lift, right at the bottom of the corridor, there were these 2 strange entities. They felt threatening. They felt malevolent. And they had red glowing eyes. And nobody would believe me after. None of the staff would believe what I'd seen. Of course they wouldn't. They think you were a loony, wouldn't they? They had red glowing eyes, pointed ears, and one seemed to be a female. I got the distinct impression she was a female because she was little with a scarf on, a bit like the Indian ladies wear the pashminas wrapped around the head. And the other one was a tall, I felt he was male. And I felt like they were waiting for me. So something said run in my head. So I ran and locked myself in the bathroom.
Oh.
And I kind of blacked out. So I kind of sat on a chair because I thought, I'm going to faint, I'm going to faint. And about 2 minutes later comes a knock on the bathroom door. So I opened the door and there's the other staff nurse that I was working with that night, Jean. And she said to me, you look as white as a ghost. She said, what's wrong? She said, do you know you've been missing for an hour? She said, I've looked everywhere for you. Now, to me, it felt like I'd only been gone 5 minutes. She says, you've been missing an hour. She said, we've looked everywhere for you on every floor. We couldn't find you. Where have you been for an hour? Where have you been? I said, I've been in here.
No, you weren't. No.
What happened?
Yeah, you went on and you went up.
8 staff were looking for me.
Wow.
Now I wish I could trace them, I really do, because they would witness that I'm telling the absolute truth about that night, especially Jean. I wish I could find Jean. But you don't think to.
Oh, no, you don't. You know, you were.
You don't think I'll take your name and your number. And then years pass and you think, you see, I've carried this story inside me for years before I wrote my book. You know, what prompted me to write my book was Dteeah, because he returned in 2020 during the COVID epidemic for some reason. It was probably just starting. And the first sighting I had of him was in my bedroom, and he was messing about with my mobile phone. And I woke up and caught him. He was in a navy blue uniform, and I'll describe it to you. It looked like the Indian gentlemen wear, where it comes down to the waist and then it comes over the waist. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And it was all navy blue, very smart, and his hair was mid-length at that point. It'd be about here, and it's slightly wavy. And I thought, oh, he's nice looking, before he just vanished. Lets my phone go and vanishes. And I thought, what the hell are you doing with my mobile phone? Was the first thing. Why was he fiddling with my mobile phone? I thought nothing else of it. I just dismissed it. I thought, I wonder if I was hallucinating, am I going? And I thought, am I going around the bend or what here, And then, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get the timeline right here, so please excuse me if I have to think a moment. Yeah. And then the government relaxed the rules in the UK after about a year, and they said you can go on holiday in the UK. This is what happened. So we went down to Kent to what it's called, Folkestone in Kent, and people will know that are listening from the UK where that is. Some Americans might even have been to Kent. It's where the White Cliffs of Dover are, looking out to sea. And we went down there, but as we were setting off significantly, a blacked out Land Rover went past me and my husband witnessed this. And the radio completely shorted out and the engine threatened to stop in the car. And my husband said, what the hell just happened? And this was just as we started our journey down to Kent. And then when we stopped off at the London services, halfway down to Kent, because it's quite a long journey down to Kent, about 8 hours drive, so we stopped for a break. I see this blonde man, and I think, and I see him from about 100 yards away, and our eyes just connect. And I think, I know you. This is knowing, feeling. And I thought, and I can't describe it any more than that you just have this knowing feeling, like a connection with that person. And he looked at me, and it was a real hard stare. And I didn't feel threatened by him, but even my husband noticed that this blonde man was staring at me from across the outside seating area where you had we're having a cup of coffee. And I thought, and he had sunglasses on, shorts, etc. I know you laugh.
And the short. Oh my God.
Their
hairless legs.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I thought that was weird. And then when we got to Birmingham, because we stopped off at, sorry, I need to say this as well. Before that happened, we'd been to the Birmingham services, and I was actually, for the first time in years and years, I had that buzzing, and I believe I was taken because it went from night to daylight very quickly. Now, whether I was taken by him or not, I don't know. I really don't know whether it was benevolent or not, but it connects up somehow. And then I never thought anything of it. I just kind of tried to put it to the back of my mind, if you will. And then we got back from that holiday, and the Prime Minister, Boris Johnson, suddenly says, oh, you can go to the Lake District now. You're allowed to go for local walks within a 30-mile radius, etc. I don't know whether this happened in America as well. So we went to the Lake District because it's a very beautiful place. And we went in a cafe in Grasmere. And my brother was with me when this happened. Often my brother has been with me when we've seen him. This is also significant. Don't know why. And I went to get a cup of tea, and we were sat in a beer garden, and you could get tea and coffees in this kind of hotel garden. And as I got up to go, I turned around, and the same blonde man was sat within about 5 meters of me. He was that close. And I looked at him and I thought, you're the same guy I saw at the London services. And I looked at him and I just knew. And I thought, what the hell is going on here? What the hell? Are you trying to contact me? And I just looked at him and I said, are you trying to make contact with me? But telepathically.
Yeah.
And he gave me a really knowing look and an ever so very slight nod occurred. And I was like, yeah, she's put it, the penny has dropped. Like he was thinking, yeah, the penny's dropped at last. Like he wanted to strangle me or something. And suddenly it was like something inside me said, you two know each other and you've known each other for a long time. And that, significantly, that meeting in the garden, maybe it was almost like he said, come on, when are you going to write your story? Why are you hiding your story? And it kept coming in my head, why are you hiding your story? After that meeting, write your story down. You need to get this down. You need to write it down. And I answered back and said, there's no way on earth someone's going to publish this. There's no way on earth. Why bother? Why waste my time and energy? The time is now. The time is now. So I started writing my story. I didn't want to overdo it because, but I felt like all the time I was getting help with it. And I know that sounds weird.
No.
Not systems construction, because I've never needed help with that, as probably you can tell I'm quite articulate, but just with what to say and what not to say, and memories were coming back that I'd buried for years.
Yeah.
They were coming back.
Exactly. Yeah. Because you start when you go back in time now, that with the toolbox you have now, and you go back in time, you're like, oh, well, obviously, all these pieces.
Yeah. All the pieces were fitting together, and it was like that meeting was kind of what made all the pieces drop into place. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like they all dropped into place.
Yeah.
Just like that. And I thought, I've met you before, because what I forgot to tell you was in 2008, I had a significant sighting, which is also in my book.
Right.
Where I believe he came right on my drive in a Land Rover.
Yes, when he drew. Yes.
Yeah. And on that occasion, he was sat with a female colleague, I think. But I don't think he expected me to turn up. And what had happened was that I had a vivid dream about 2 nights before, this was in the summer of 2008, of him landing on my grass in a cream-coloured scout ship, egg-shaped. Now, what corroborated this was, I've since watched the interviews with JP on Michael Salah, and the craft that JP photographed was exactly like what I saw in the dream. In 2008, and the same craft that I saw landed on the ground in 2008. So put that together, if you know. So it was like I was given corroboration years later that was a Pleiadian craft. Does that make sense? Because I didn't know that at the time. But he gets out of this craft, The door opens on top, he gets out, he greets me, he shakes my hand. That's in the dream. And then 2 days later, we were coming back from the library with the children, would be about 8 and sort of 12 by then. There's 3 years between my boys. And we were coming back for a visit to the library, and there were crop formations in the field down the road. And there were the ancient swastika sign that the Nazis commandeered when we got out to have a look. Because my husband noticed it. I didn't even notice it. And he looked at it, and he's very rational because he's a doctor. I mean, when I say this, I mean my earth partner here.
Earth, right,
I'm talking about now. Yeah. And he looked at it and he said, well, there's no way. He said, the only footprints that I can see are mine going in and out to have a look. He said, so that's come from the air. We'd no sooner seen that. There was a blacked out, a Land Rover parked behind us with blacked out windows.
Oh, you know who
Right.
that is?
No. I've no idea who that was. No.
Oh, that's like the Men in Black jerks. Yeah.
So then we get back in the car because we felt a bit threatened by that. We drive up, and who's on the drive but this black Land Rover, but we could see the people in it. And the person that I could see was this same blonde man. And I thought, I know you. You got out of that craft the other night in my dream. And I thought, what the hell's going on here? Went through my head, and my husband said, who the heck are they, cheeky monkeys parking on our drive? And they just drove off. I thought nothing more of it, and it puzzled me. And talk about curiouser and curiouser, to quote Alice in Wonderland, because 2 or 3 nights later, I started to see these zigzagging lights over the field. Now, in front of my house now, there's an estate being built, but at the time there was nothing in front of my house. It was just all fields. And you could see right across for miles. And I saw these zigzagging lights coming apart, coming back together. And I thought, I wonder if that's children with torches. It wasn't, what I'm saying that for is because it wasn't as if I just jumped to the conclusion, oh, it's aliens. I'm not like that.
Right.
You know, I just thought, is it children messing about with torches or something? But they were very high off the ground. And I thought, well, how are kids managing to get the lights to go that high? And then I watched it for a few nights, and it kept repeating and repeating. And I thought, if that happens again, and I told my husband, I said, if that happens again, I'm going out to investigate. I said, so don't worry if I drive off at 4 o'clock in the morning. It's just me going to see what the hell that is. So he thought I was completely bonkers, of course. But I just thought, well, I'm going to investigate it because it's weird. Yeah. Coming as it did on the tail of all this other high strangeness. So then I kind of went out to the field, and in the field landed was an egg-shaped craft, and it was like glowing a pearlescent colour. Yeah. And prior to seeing that, as well as the flashing lights, I had seen, almost as if I were showing off, just before that happened, I had seen a huge cylindrical ship with green and orange lights alternating around the side of it. And it turned on its side, and then it turned to hover, and then it completely vanished. Now, nothing, as far as I know, that we've got can do that, although it might be hidden technology. I'm not ruling that out.
Was it a large, like a canister with flat ends?
No, it was kind of like a classic saucer shape, that one, and it had orange and green lights around that alternated. And I did go to a journalist and tell them about it, and some people made a joke and said, I'm glad that our visitors are adhering to the light rules at night, was one of the comments I got.
That's it.
But I didn't actually go out to that one because it just vanished. Yeah. But I'll tell you what, I stood there and doubted my own eyes. I thought, am I seeing it? I doubted my own eyes. And it was almost like they were saying, look what we can do. And it hovered, it turned on its side like a Catherine wheel, and then it righted itself and hovered, and then it vanished. And it was like they were saying, they were showing off, really. And then 2 nights later is when I went out to investigate, and the egg-shaped craft is there. And I've done a mock-up of this. And there were 2 really tall guys either side of it. And that terrified me. And they looked Nordic. From a distance, they look Nordic. They look very muscular, tall, at least I would say 6'5" plus. These 2, they look like soldiers, guards.
Yeah.
Or the distinct impression was, we want to meet you, was what I got from my car. Come and meet us. And I thought, No way, Jose.
Oh, wait, wait, no, it was.
I was off. But the weird thing is that because I was a mother of two young boys, don't forget, and I was terrified they were going to take me and not bring me back was what was in my head.
Yeah,
But a really strange thing, because I know the way round and back to my village is the only way around is to go back via the huge roundabout off the B6263. And anyone that's local to Cumbria will know that I'm telling the truth about the Carlisle J42 roundabout. This is. You come off it to go to Wetherell. Now I knew that you had to come right back round to come back into the village. What did I do? Almost like they'd taken control by this time, I think. I went straight onto the M6 heading south,
oh,
which
what?
totally out of character. And what's more, when I pulled into services, thinking, how the hell am I going to turn around? I got the impression, yes, there's a passenger bridge. You can go over a bridge in your car, was what was in my head. But I know that there is no bridge there for a car to go over. There's a passenger bridge you can go on foot, but you
Right.
cannot get back heading north from that services. And yet, in my mind, there was planted this thought, follow this white lorry that was, now, this is just gets weirder and weirder because I was in a real panic by this time because I'd seen her. You've got to bear in mind, I've seen this UFO landed on the ground. These two, I was absolutely terrified. I was shaking. I got out of the car to take a breath, and I see this plain white lorry in front of me. And the guy stood there, and I say to him, "Can you get me back heading north to Scotland? I've no idea how to get out of here because I'd never been to that services." And he just said to me, he nodded at me, but he didn't say anything. Now, have you ever met a silent truck driver?
Yeah,
Ever?
right. No, they're always. Yeah, right.
I haven't. They'll talk for England, most of
Right,
them. Right. And I just said, and he just gesticulated at me to follow him. Never said a word. And I trusted him. This is how it gets so weird because you
Who?
wouldn't, would
Right, right. Yeah, right,
you? You're a
right.
woman on your own at 5 o'clock in the morning. You're not going to trust that. So why did I? So I get in my car, I follow him, and all I can see is this white in front of me. And I remember vividly that it felt like I was right up against some kind of white wall. And in my head, he was saying, "You just seen the back of a lorry." But if you drive that close to the back of a lorry, you would have crashed into it. And you wouldn't see the back of the lorry per se, you would see the wheels, wouldn't you?
Right.
That's not what I saw. If you were at car level, because my car was a low Fiat, it was a little Fiat. So when I look back on it, what I think actually happened was that was a UFO, and he took me up and put me back down, heading the right back towards Scotland, knowing what a state I was in, and they were looking after me. That's all I can think back on it now because I was in a real panic. I was in a
Yeah,
real
yeah, yeah.
state, and that's all I can think, that it must not have been a lorry at all, but they made it look like a lorry and took control. Because I remember feeling my car go back down, like I was plonked back down. Um,
Wow.
so
That's
you can read about that.
yeah,
That's all in my book.
that
So
was
all this,
wild. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah, I remember that. Yeah.
all this had happened. So all through my life, when you look at it, and when I started to put the pieces together, for all through my life, I've been encountering this blonde man.
Yeah.
And why? The big question mark in my head. Why? And then I think when I first talked to you, it was you that said or suggested perhaps it's your partner. I think was it you that first?
Contact, yeah.
And then suddenly the dots all seemed to connect up. But it was after I'd seen him in the garden at Grasmere, and I thought it's almost like you're saying to me that we're connected. But I didn't fully get it until I saw him a few more times. And I saw him also in Tenerife. I've seen him on two separate holidays. He's
Right.
appeared. Yeah. And the more I read about it, and then I found out about galactic envoys agreeing to come here. And then when we made telepathic contact, which we have done since, he's told me more and more. and that actually I'm his partner.
Yeah.
So now I know, but that's only come within the last year, really.
And you are, to be fair, because a lot of people want to know this, you are a physical contactee.
Yes, yeah.
I can show you.
Um,
Let me pull up. I'm sure people are all dying now for me to pull up these images. Um,
yeah, that's fine. Yeah, of course.
one of them. So this is when he had short hair. So here we are.
Yeah.
I always there we go. All right. So oops. And it was amazing when because I had spoken to him before I seen his picture. And then you showed me the picture and like, yes, this is the man I'm talking to. And he's very young and he's
He's
worked,
very nice.
yeah, he works with the GFW and he told me all about you. And so this is an AI obviously of Dteeah, and I think this is very very well done by your man who does pictures for you because you can see. I mean, I don't think people would notice any difference if he was walking down the street until you point out a few things like they have much larger eyes as there's not a lot
Yeah,
who would have that kind of and they have a very smooth skin.
beautiful skin and
So
almost
that
perfect
well,
skin. Yeah.
the women you wouldn't notice much as for a full grown man, they don't have any. And I always fight with my AI constantly. I'm like, get the freaking stubble off. There's no they have
Yeah.
very
Yeah. There's nothing that they don't
they've
grow
never
with. They don't even have any 5 o'clock shadow as
no
we,
never.
is that what
So that
there's no whiskers.
no so
Yeah.
that does change if you are with some of the mixes. They're not hybrids. They're just mixes of some of the tall will grow beards here. So
Yes. 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 They can do, I believe. I've heard that
yes, they
myself.
do.
Yeah.
Actually,
Yeah.
usually after they've been
Mm.
here a few months, there's different ones like, but I don't
Yeah.
know the tall. And this is something Linda and I said, Will is here now and he's gonna get all hairy. And she's like, nope, we have a you must shave rule.
I
So
don't know.
so
Yeah.
that's but the hell never get hairy. So Ika and I have been making a joke and we just constantly like go after Linda on this and like he's so like a
Well,
Sasquatch and like
yeah.
he's just gonna be this hairy like. So anyway, but this is your man Dteeah. So and I'm going forward. He actually did this on your cell phone. So I'm gonna pull up this picture. Not this picture, but I just want to show folks. So I write in the Tommy script. And this is not Tommy, by the way. This is from the book Mass Contacts by Stefano Brescia. And this is
Mm.
I think I'm not sure this was it might have been, but this is something like what you would see for humanoid language. Now, this is what Dteeah wrote on your cell phone case.
There it is. Yeah.
There it is. Yeah, he defaced your man defaced your property.
He did. Very naughty.
It's a
And yeah.
So this is
Um,
upstairs. Did he ever tell you what it says?
um, he said he was trying to warn me not to take the COVID vaccine. And I
Okay.
think you can almost see an RNA there. Curiously, has occurred to me.
Yeah, it's just
Recent.
yeah, right. I can kind of see that in the middle. It might possibly
Yeah.
be that,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, yeah. So did he now when he wrote this, did you witness him writing it?
Well, um, it's strange how it happened, really. Almost like I didn't recognize him. Almost like because what happened was, if you read my book, there were four of them, and this is what I mean. They can quite easily insert themselves into human society, no problem.
Oh, no
Um,
problem.
and
Yeah.
and these four, including him, and what happened was I just collected some new glasses, and it was a hot sunny day, and I put my sunglasses on, my new ones, and I was literally stood within inches of him in a queue, but didn't recognise him on that occasion, which almost like he was blocking me out.
All
But he
right.
told me to expect a message telepathically prior to this happening.
Right.
Um, and then that wasn't on my phone when I went to the opticians to collect my glasses. And he was stood right next to me, and this blonde man with wavy hair was staring at me, and I thought, what are you staring at? Leave me alone, and it was quite funny actually because the rest of the group were women and they were giggling. And I
Oh,
think when I look back on it, they were giggling because he was trying to get my attention and couldn't get it because I was being a typical British lady. Go away, you silly man.
right,
Stop
right.
looking at me. And then it was only when I got home that I realised I got this message on my phone. So he must have done something to get that there. That's all I can. It's in my book how it happened,
Yeah,
but there were 4 of them on that. Now they can easily insert themselves right into our shopping centres, into our cafes. This happened in a busy cafe.
yeah. No, that it's similar. My reaction to them is different than yours because I confront them. I feel their energy initially. That's usually what stops.
Yes, I do, but I haven't got the courage to do that. How do they react when you?
So
How do you?
normally, right? So they usually like they'll do that. So like I'll notice right away and I'll stare at them. And I'll
Well,
just
I've
be like,
started doing that now. No, do you know? Because now I think all the pieces had to fall for me before I realised what was going on. I've always, like you say, felt there's something different. Yes, I'm in the presence of something otherworldly, but now, yes, I do confront them. I do. In fact, I went to Madeira recently, last year, and met what I believe were a Pleiadian couple in a restaurant, possibly sent by him. I don't know. I felt they were sent by him. I just had this feeling. And I sent them a telepathic message, "Are you Pleiadian?" in my mind, because I've started to do this, and I don't know whether you do the same. And they left the restaurant, looked at me, left the restaurant, but then they came back, sat back down. Now, who does that for a start after they finished the meal once they've gone? And they came back, didn't order a drink, didn't do anything, but both looked pointedly at me. And I said, "You've come back," in my head. And they just slightly nodded and then got up and left. And my son was sat right next to me and he said, "Mum, what just happened?" Even he saw that it was strange. And this is, you know, I have this happen on not a regular basis. I'm not saying every day, but intermittently, it keeps happening. Too much for it to be a coincidence. And I know some people are watching this and think, "Oh no, she's a complete nutter." But I don't believe I am.
well, you feel them. I mean, that's usually like
You do feel them.
so I'll send out like so I was coming out of a grocery store. I drive a big black truck and across the street, right? So there's this young man, and a shoulder length, gorgeous blonde hair, cute guy. And it's hot here, so people are just wearing, light clothes. And he's like, it's like he didn't know how to like. He's like, I'm like, what the? I'm looking at that guy and I got twitch. First it's unusual. It's like there's no very very rarely cute people where I live, so it sticks out in your mind. So like oh,
You're really inappropriate.
blonde, the blonde hair was so blonde. I'm like, oh, all right. But he was like, I'm like, what's wrong with him? He was like, I don't know if a bug was bothering him, but the way he was using his body is like very unusual. And I was just like, and I'm waiting there to cross with the truck. I'm in my truck, mind you. He's across the street. So I'm staring at him. I said, what? I said, Jesus, this man could be one of ours. He's such a complete idiot, hasn't been in a body before. So all of a sudden he stops and he looks at me across the street through a truck window. And he's like, and I'm like, so that's usually what happens. I mean, I pick him up.
Kind of resonates, yeah.
I'll just stare at them, and then they'll notice me, and they're like, and I get the deer in the headlights look, and I'll be like, yeah, right, and then they'll be like, oh yeah, and they'll acknowledge and all.
So I got from this couple, it was like they were startled by the fact that I could convey this telepathic message across.
Oh, I give them.
You are gonna so laugh at this, but it happened to me when I was in the supermarket about 2 or 3 months ago, and I saw this really good looking. They can't hide the fact that they're so handsome.
I mean, it's just
they're just so, the skin is so fluid, and I knew right away. I knew you're an undercover Pleiadian, and I sent the message right across. I said, "I know you're an undercover Pleiadian. I don't mean you any harm. I'm one of you here incognito like you, but I'm a starseed." And he looked at me, and he just looked like a rabbit in headlights.
Right.
And then he went on his phone, and I watched him go on his phone and talk to someone, put it down, and then looked at me and gave me a reassuring nod.
Yeah, they give you that.
Now, who was he phoning? Who was he phoning?
They're in contact.
Was he phoning some kind of commander or?
Yeah. They have to be careful. They do have to be careful. So like I said, there was somebody out in Santa Monica that met Ika. A bunch of people met him. He was out in the middle. He walks down there.
Yeah. Well, I wonder if he was phoning a picture of me in to say who's she.
Well, they can
And
see like that. You can see like what they see. So I see him like when he goes.
do they know? Do they know who we are? Do they know that we are envoys? I mean, how do
Yes,
they know?
vibration.
Vibration, just alone. Yeah.
But what he sees, they see up. They can see, but they can actually see with the ship as well. So they can
Ah,
actually
right.
see with the ship the whole interaction.
Yeah. I'm still, as you know from my various emails, I still struggle a bit with this because it's like you're on Earth, you're an ordinary human, you look in the mirror, you see this ordinary person looking back at you. And Dteeah recently showed me what I look like
I am.
really. Have you had that?
Well,
Um,
I never saw myself. I never was an ordinary human, so I always knew I was.
ah,
So
yeah,
I never, I never associated with. So I was always mimicking. I would just watch.
yeah. This is how I am, I think, actually. And I just looked and I thought, I can't get my head around this sometimes, you know, I just really struggle to think and you feel as if you're vulnerable in some ways because
Yeah. Well, you are.
the
Yeah.
powers that be don't like it, do they? They don't like the fact that you're coming out with your story. And I haven't had a lot of success, as you know, getting my story out.
You know, the fact that your book hasn't, attracted a lot more attention is a red flag, not only to the fact that that's legit, and talking to you and I'm talking to your contact is you're legit, and that's for sure. You're not looking for a celebrity, you're not looking, you just want to get your story.
I'm not.
No,
I
no,
just want,
exactly. And that's legit. I think the people who are looking for celebrity and doing all the circus acts. Now, for sure you go around to conferences because you're trying to promote your story, and that makes 100% sense. But I mean, you're definitely not, turning this into a circus act. So I think for me, the people and that's your average contactee. I'm going to say for every, small percentage of people who want to turn this into a sideshow, that's rare. Your real deal
yeah,
people, like, I always knew, like you, well, of course, I knew who I was, whereas
yeah,
you weren't sure, but I never said a word to anyone until I was in my late 40s, when they forced me to
yeah.
come forward. Um,
Yeah, I was kind of forced during lockdown, I
yeah,
think.
yeah,
That pivotal meeting with Dteeah was what did it really, you know, who I've since come to know his name.
yeah. I mean, to me, the experience of what the work that I was doing was sacred, and it still is.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
anything
I
extraterrestrial
think it is.
feels,
I think you're
anything,
here to
yeah,
support us lot.
it's anything earthbound to me feels uncomfortable. Anything that's extraterrestrial feels comfortable. So it's,
Oh, same here, really.
and then
Yeah,
once you
yeah.
commit to it, you flip the table. So, yeah, I mean, and that's, why I mean, and I told upstairs, that's why I wanted to, if they're, since they forced me to do this, then I would expressly want it to be for contactees, to come forward and tell their story.
Well,
And
I think you're doing a really good thing because I've certainly felt very supported
well,
by
that's
yourself.
what we need to do.
Yeah,
It's so separated. There's
yeah.
so many people, so
And I
separated.
felt, and you don't make me feel like I'm stupid or a nutcase or something. You know, a lot of people, even people in ufology, have made me feel small at times, or made me, or sidelined me. And it's almost like some of these people are false gatekeepers. Do you know what I mean by
That
that?
that's my
Yeah,
my impression is that they're being mind
yeah,
controlled. So when you come
yeah,
towards them, the people that are trying to suppress that you're trying to, like I said, I used to gain like thousands of subscribers a week, and then and James Rink was saying the same thing. It's like
yeah.
I haven't gained a single subscriber in months.
Well, I haven't even got near that.
And
Even, yeah.
that's right, right. So, I mean, I'm not interested in gaining subscribers per se. I mean, that's not, it's just curiosity.
I'm not really. I just
Right.
want
Yeah.
or feel that I'm a witness I want to witness that this has happened and back you up when you said, because I watched your interview with Michael Salah about the other women you'd met, including myself.
Right.
And I want to back you up in that. I want to say she's not talking rubbish. This has happened. This is happening. I felt initially a bit abandoned when you said about what the is it the Federation, the Galactic Federation. Is that improving, do you think? Is there any hope for us here, stuck here?
I know I don't work for them anymore, neither does Ika. I know Dteeah still does. So you want to ask Dteeah what his experiences are, because he's on the front lines there. So yes, it's I mean, you know, the thing is they're not magical people, and they have the same
No,
greed,
they're
they have
not.
the same, you know, it is not AI infiltration. I will tell you that. It's just simple greed. It's just simple. We don't know what the hell we're doing. So it's easier for us just to make arrangements. That's what they had done. Okay. So, you know, like I said, it's really just a simple bunch of people screwing up. And and Jay will tell you, and I know he's experienced that himself, although, you know, he doesn't work with the higher ups. So, you know, he wouldn't have had a firsthand account of that. But for sure, you know, there's a lot of stuff going on. And I remember when Gia came to me one day, he was having a bad day. He was trying to do something on he does a lot of technical stuff, and
He does, yeah.
he couldn't find the part, the part that he needed, and it wasn't, things just weren't coming together, and he was all upset. And I said, you know what you need to do? I said, you need to go and ask for help. So and he was able to finish.
That's right. Yes, yeah.
It's just people.
He gets a bit flustered, doesn't he? Yeah. He's told me that.
Yeah. He doesn't know Ika. He's never met Ika personally. Again, Ika's in the military, the fighting section. So he would not.
He's more of a geeky type, isn't he?
Yeah.
Mine.
Yeah.
It's a geek, what we call a geek, really. Yeah. He's on the technical computer.
But he's much younger. And you know, so but he's a very nice person. So anyway, you know, it's just reality of the way things are. It's getting, you know, it's definitely getting, I mean, no, it's not getting, it is cleaned up, you know. But it's Earth is a complicated situation, and all of us got thrown under the bus, and things happened to us that weren't supposed to happen. And there's still a lot of people that are experiencing extreme duress, and this needs to be mitigated ASAP. So we're just going to keep pushing, and our families keep pushing to assist those starseeds, because it isn't a matter of like, it is not, you know, the help that we require is the help that we are owed. And there's a whole separate, and this is when people talk to them, you need to demand that which is owed to you and that which you require to do your job. So it isn't about asking for alms.
I have done that of late, actually. Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah. And you stand in your own power and who you are, and express your needs, you know. So yeah, it's definitely, you know, there's going to be a lot of changes for sure. So yeah, I don't quite know what the next steps are going to be. They're still in that move around mode. So obviously for many of us, extraction is the main demand. So as soon as that is going to happen, and I tell them, you extract me or I'm going to extract me. And if you're making me suicide to get out of here, that's not a real good look on your end, is it?
That's not, no.
That's not a good look. So, you know, you definitely have to, you know, demand.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's even more complex in a way, because I have family here on planet, so to speak, you know, and two boys that I love dearly, and
so that's something, you know, obviously anything that's done is going to be personal. It's not going to be a group thing. It's and you're the one that makes the decision as to what, you know, how you want to proceed. So yeah, I still feel there's a separation. This is unfortunate, but there is a distinct separation between us, the envoys, and the rest of the Terrans. Okay. You know, there is definitely, because the majority of people, if you try to share this with them, would think you're a nutcase. They just want to certify you. They just wouldn't get it. So that's more of a British thing, I dare say, because in the United States, it's actually very people are very open about this. And
Really?
I haven't,
Well, that's good. That is good.
yeah,
But the British are very close-minded, I would say. Quite, excuse
yeah,
me. I'm not saying all British. It's getting better. It's improving. Otherwise, there wouldn't be conventions like the one I
well,
went to
exactly.
on Saturday, you know. And I'm so glad I went because I felt that I did meet two good contacts there. One was Hollywood. I don't know whether you've heard of her. She's very good at PR. And one was this Ryan Sprague. I don't know whether you've heard of him. He's from America.
Yeah.
He's from New York, I think.
Oh, great grand, yeah.
So, and he did get back to me, and I gave him a copy of my book. So I am trying, you know, but it's almost like what happened. Quite a few significant things have happened, which I told you about in the email. Where can I name the people that have turned me down? Because I don't know why they've turned me down for the life of me. Am I
Yeah, we'll see
allowed
if
to
we can
do
get
that?
to the bottom of that. Who turned you down?
Well, coast to coast. I
Okay.
rang the editor and spoke with the person, and then she reason was, and I've been speaking to you for nearly 2 hours, haven't I now? And she said, I don't think you've got enough material to last for 2 hours. That was the excuse she gave me. So I was refused by her.
Well,
I had another woman.
coast to coast is a cabal, so they're not going to carry your book.
Right, okay, so that answers that one. And then I had someone called Natasha Graziano. Have you heard of the Natasha Graziano show? She's been listed on Forbes, apparently,
Okay, that would be
by
cabal.
Forbes.
That would also be cabal.
Right. So then she got in touch with me 3 times, said she'd have me on. Nada, nothing.
No, that
Ghosted.
because no, she's cabal. Yeah.
Right. And I thought that actually. I thought I don't know whether I really want to come on this. I have bad feelings.
Well, they would never have anybody like that. They wouldn't have you on because the cabal controls all the
Yeah.
media. That's not.
Yeah. Okay. And then a nice, what I thought was a nice guy got in touch with me. He said, we've got 1 million audience on his podcast. I can't remember the name of the podcast. And I said, I'd love to come on. And then suddenly he ghosted me for no reason.
Same reason.
Ghosted me like he'd been warned off. And I feel they'd all been warned off.
Yeah,
That's what I think.
or just mind control. So anyone this is what people know this. I mean, almost 90% of disclosure is controlled by the cabal.
I
And
know that.
anyone who's got like 1 million followers or really high numbers,
Yeah, they're going to stop them.
They're either going to take your channel down or they're under the control of the cabal. There's no other because
I mean, what do you think of Michael then? Do you think there's some influence over him?
Michael will tell you I talked to Michael. Michael is legit. And he was almost murdered. So
I got Linda Moulton Howe, which really shocked me. She took me.
Yeah, my Ika's obsessed with her. He likes her quite a bit. He can't wait to meet her.
Yeah, because she doesn't seem to bow to the cabal. You know?
No. So I think that what they do is they allow some to break through. There is, like I said, it's not everyone, there's a small percentage of people, and Linda, to be fair, has been around for quite some time, so she was able to build a large community, so she's very well respected, and they do kind of skirt a few through for sure. And
but why me? Why do they? What is so threatening about me? I haven't had nearly as many experiences as, say, Whitney, what's he called? Whitley Strieber.
So the problem with you is because you have an ET contact.
Is that what it is?
They do not want the envoys to connect with their contacts.
But he's already connected. He's connected with me all my life, as you can tell from my story.
They don't want it to become a significant situation. So
they don't want it to be known that they're having contact, because he is actively contacting me nearly every day telepathically.
They don't want connection.
Well, I'm getting that, so they're not stopping it with me and him.
They're not stopping it, but they're stopping you from coming forward.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah,
that's where so they cannot stop the connection, but they can stop you from coming forward. And I told you he took great risks in coming down here.
I know he did. But the thing is, why do they feel, the powers that be feel so threatened by the fact that you and I are saying we're in contact? That's what I'm asking.
Well, because they don't want any of the technology to come rolling out. So for the cabal, for the corporate, it's an interstellar corporation. They don't so much care about contact as much as they care about what contact would mean for them. So it would mean the end of their systems. So you're taking
Mm.
down all of their control systems, basically. They don't want that to happen. And they're going to fight to the absolute death to maintain control here. And you're talking about your fossil fuel, your medical industries. You're talking about your old governmental systems, the entire military systems. All of
And
the
pharmaceuticals.
your
Pharmaceuticals.
farm, but yeah,
Big pharma.
all of the, I have to be careful because this is going to go on YouTube, but every single thing that you see in front of you is cabal.
I know that.
They control every inch of humanity's life. It's a matrix system.
I know that.
False system. And it's all about mind control. The only reason this system can exist is because the population has been mind controlled.
Yes, I know that.
So contact is the end of them. And they don't want that to happen. You can't drip out this stuff. You cannot drip out extraterrestrial tech. You can't. Once you bring out the tech, it's everything. So they're going to fight tooth and nail, and that's why they kill people. Everyone who's tried to come forward, all the people who have created free energy systems, or all the people who had worked with advanced propulsion systems, they're either usurped and sucked into the system or murdered.
Yes, I know that. I know all of this. I've done a lot of research.
That's the answer as to why this is the way it is. And I think we are now at a I call it a Mexican standoff. That's really what we're looking at right now. And we'll see where it goes. We'll see where it goes.
Because how can I put it? I think one day we'll be called to give testimony. I just have a feeling. I was shown this.
Yes. Yeah, Val Thor talked about that.
We will return, I think, back to where we came from. And we will be called on to give testimony. And that might be a deciding factor to the fate of the earth. So they're going to be sorry. And I'm going to say this on air.
Yeah. This was
because we're witnessing this. We're witnessing quite a lot, really. We're witnessing what's been done to humanity, the terrible evil that prevails here.
It's grotesque.
Or is allowed to prevail here.
Yeah, and I think that's the key point. What was allowed to prevail here. And ultimately, I've always said the life and vitality of the cabal was valued at a higher level than your average person.
Well, I know that, or I know all of this actually.
And it's
in some ways.
This is what I keep throwing out, which is what I still throw it out to them upstairs. And I said, the can kicking and it's coming in a couple of years. And, there's not a lot of people. There's people who don't have a couple of years. There's people who have, excuse me, they're trying to stop me from saying.
It's all right. It's the heat, isn't it?
No, it's them. It's them. So ultimately, the fate of the cabal is being given more consideration and more compassion than the fate of a 5-year-old child.
And is it just me, or are you hearing some strange noises?
Oh, I don't care about them. I don't care if they kill me. They know that. They can kill me. I don't give a crap. So, and this is what I tell, and this is what I'm going to tell. And I can't wait to talk to George. There's nothing against George Cavassalis. George Cavassalis is a messenger. I never say I'm looking forward to chatting with him because I have a lot to say to those admirals. Because as long as they kick a can and they make excuses and they drag this out, if they are legit and if they are who they say they are, and I don't know this, the longer they drag this out, the more deaths and the more extreme suffering the envoys and the Terrans on this planet and the animals on this planet are experiencing. So there's quite a large amount of gratuitous death and suffering that's being allowed while they try to negotiate with murderers who, in my opinion, don't deserve anything. They deserve.
Well, I think so far as to say they're psychopaths, really. Let's call them what they are. They're psychopaths. They have no conscience.
They're talking over our heads. They're making deals with psychopaths while we're just receiving
at the mercy.
Yeah. And that's a no bueno in my book. So that's what that's this is what I can't wait to bring out. Anyway, so but yeah. So
I
Lorraine,
just, I
anyway,
just,
you got to go. Your brother, I believe, is
yeah, yes, that's right. Yes, so yes,
we're
yeah.
going
But I'm
to
just glad this came out really in a way because I think it
so
needs saying.
no,
Yeah.
and I think it'd be wonderful for you to come back on. I just want to introduce you and your book and get that out there and but to have you back on as a guest speaker, to talk
I'd
about
like that. Yes, yeah.
situations.
If they don't see me off.
Hey, good luck to ISIS the war. So but it was wonderful to have you on finally and to share your story and to get your book out there. And I'm looking forward to maybe next time have some more pictures that you have that
Can you hear? I'm hearing at my end some interference that sounds like ET voices. Are you hearing that?
I got a fan, so probably can't.
I'm hearing almost like I'm feeling like this is Gray's listening in.
Oh, yeah, well, let them listen. They can listen all. So the gray tech is actually so the Cabal has gray tech, and the Cabal uses very advanced gray tech. So, and I don't hide from them. I speak my voice. I speak out in public. I'm not afraid of them. They know that. And the only way they're going to shut me up is to kill me. And so far they haven't. So, whatever. I'm not afraid of that either. So,
What would happen though? I mean, that worries me in the sense of they can also, am I not right in saying they can also take your essence or soul or whatever you want to call it, or
no one can take, no,
and
they can't take your soul. No, no.
I thought they could, the Greys.
Oh,
Oh,
they can take fractions. They did that they did that to Ika. They took DNA templates and they took some of his consciousness. He's got all that back. But
right, okay.
they can't take they can take your consciousness and lock it somewhere. They can't really do anything with it. So
Mm.
um it would be, the Greys are no longer um it, it- they've not stuck around here because it's not worth their time. So they're no longer, they've gone off.
Yeah, around. Okay.
What, what
So I'm guessing, am I right in saying that Dteeah will have some kind of tag on me or something? I don't know. But he
yeah,
always seems to know when I'm in trouble, when I'm in deep doo-doo.
well, that's the psych. Excuse me, they're doing it again. Fuck them. So that's the quantum bond you have.
Ah, right, because when I nearly had that collision, it was inches that I was missed by, when I went to the convention. I swear there was an intervention there. I
Yeah,
swear.
those kinds of interventions are from your ship, the ship handlers, like the.
Yeah, I do think so.
Oh, I know
And
some. Yeah,
has that happened to any other contactees where they've been
it happened to me.
interviewed?
It happened to me. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, right. It happened to yourself. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Well, we are connected. So we are connected through technology and implants to the
It
ship.
was literally like my car was moved out of the way. I'm
Yes.
not exaggerating.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah. No, that's
And that,
yeah. The Cabal tried to kill me in 2016 and then they intervened. And they froze you. They just oh my God, yeah. They don't
uh,
they just froze you. They froze you again. Lorraine is frozen. Yep. This is what they do. There.
hello.
Yeah, they kept freezing you.
Yeah.
And I told
Yeah.
them,
They're tiny.
I don't care if they do that. Nobody cares. So here we are.
Anyway,
Yeah.
it's been wonderful talking to you.
And
I think
it's
my
so exciting.
brothers,
Yeah, and it's
yeah.
so excited to have you on.
Um,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So it's brilliant. But yeah, so
Thank you.
we'll set this up and give all the information for folks in the description. And definitely looking forward to having you on again, and we can chat about some of the socio-political, exopolitical circumstances and any other updates that you'd like to share you as well with some of your recent experiences and all of that.
Yes, that would be nice. Yeah. There is quite a few. So I have shared one of the Madeira one. There's a lot there that happened there that I could tell you.
That'll be brilliant.
Um,
Looking forward.
yeah. My brother's here and I've just seen him turning into the drive. So
He's like, are you ever gonna
yes.
are you gonna
Yeah.
shut?
Yeah. So I will say goodbye, but thank you so much. I will send you my book page link and the link to my book on Amazon, which I'm sure you could find yourself anyway. But yeah,
We're going to share that. All right. Well, thank you
so
so much, Lorraine, and looking forward to our future conversations as well. So say hi
thank
to
you for all your help and support
and
more than anything.
say hi to Dteeah, and we will see everyone upstairs.
Thank you very much. Yeah, okay. Thank you.